What's up, YouTube? This is the Jolly Raja, and I have a little knife review for you here tonight. This is my Olamic Wayfarer 24/7. Got this thing a couple weeks ago, and this is my very first YouTube video, so I'm sorry that it's very rough, but I wanted to show you this thing. It is the very best knife that I have owned yet to date, and I've tried a lot of different knives, but the action on this thing is just incredible, and the workmanship, I can't even describe the workmanship. They have other models now that are much more adorned. This one has the sculpted titanium bronzed finish, and the action with the ball bearing is just incredible. Absolutely love it. If you would have asked me a year ago if I would spend $450 on a knife, I would have said you're crazy. But the more that I've gotten into the production knife scene and bought some Kershaws and some Spydercos and Benchmades and various other production knives, I finally decided it was time to step up to a mid-tech knife. And based on reviews that I saw on the internet, on YouTube, by the Apostle P, EpicSnuggleBunny, some others, made me decide that this was the right knife to buy in that class for my first true mid-tech knife. And I have been so impressed with this knife that now I'm considering buying some custom knives, because I just can't imagine what's going to come next, what's going to be better than this knife. Been watching a lot of YouTube videos recently by John Grimsmo. Grimsmo documented the process that he went through when he decided to build his first custom knife, the Norseman, which I really want to get a Norseman at this point. But Eugene at Olamic, I've had some conversations with him via YouTube and Instagram, and a pretty amazing story that he has in terms of the knife making that he's doing down there in California, of all places. I mean, the quality of this knife is astounding. I really can't even put it into words. And again, you'll have to excuse me because this is my very first video. And I know that they did outsource some of the CNC work, like, you know, you see here on the handles with the sculpting. But you know, it's a flipper knife. It runs on ball bearings. I believe it's just caged steel ball bearings. Couldn't be sure of that. Maybe ceramic. I know the detent is ceramic. And the detent is just amazing. I mean, when it's closed, I have to pull really hard to actually get it open. But, you know, if you put your finger on the flipper, and you can't really push button it because of the way that this flipper's designed, but in terms of just pulling that flipper and the speed it flips out with and how smooth it flips out is indescribable for somebody who's never handled a knife of this quality. And I guess they call it the Wayfarer 247 because they want you to actually use this knife 24/7, and I have. I mean, I've had this knife for about 3 weeks now, and it's in my pocket every day, and I flip it probably 100 times a day because really, I mean, for most of us that are this sick and far into the knife collecting hobby, all we do is flip the knife. I've got a few things with it, you know, some cardboard, and yeah, I whittled with it a little bit one day, but I mean, really, it's more about this being a work of art than it is about it being a useful tool for me. I mean, I have plenty of Spydercos and Benchmades and bucks and other knives that will do the job when it comes to cutting, but just the pure joy of handling this knife, holding it, looking at it every day, it's kind of hard to describe. You really have to experience it. Look at the pocket clips, even milled, and it has a ceramic ball to help it slide in and out of your pocket. I have to say that actually some of the Spydercos I have probably will slip in and out of my pocket a little bit more easily than this one, but certainly they don't have nearly the elegance of that one. The knife's very thin. It's very lightweight. I think they say it weighs about 5 ounces. You know, when you put it in your pocket, you really don't even feel it. Hardly even know it's there. And it's just a joy in the hand. You know, in your hammer grip, your saber grip. I mean, even your reverse grip. Doesn't really matter how you hold it. The ergonomics on this thing are just phenomenal. You know, and closes extremely smoothly. It won't really fall. There's actually a very strong detent, and when you close it, as the Apostle P pointed out, it kind of stops right about here, and then it'll go in just very finely from there. But I just can't even tell you in words how much of a joy it is to handle this knife. It's really is a sickness that any of us would pay that much money for a knife. $445, I think, was the purchase price for this one, with the sculpted titanium handles. But you know, I could have paid that much money for a lot of things. A piece of art, or a coffee maker. I have a friend who paid $2,000 for his coffee maker, and you know, that thing is worthless now. It's 2 years old, and you probably couldn't sell it for a penny. I'm sure that I could go onto eBay or the knife forums and sell this knife for what I paid for it easily. But I probably won't, because I just love it. I really couldn't ever see giving this one up. There's a lot of knives now that I'm looking at that 6 months ago I would have laughed at somebody who said they would be willing to pay $450 or $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 to buy. But once you own a knife like this, you start to really understand how, you know, why somebody would pay that kind of money for a knife like this. And especially when you start looking at what's involved in making a knife like this. The equipment. The materials, probably not so much. I mean, this one is made of a fairly simple steel. It's a Elmax steel, which nobody really has great things to say about it. I'm sure it's a very good steel, very rust proof, and I haven't had to sharpen this one yet. I stropped it once, but it's got a great edge. I mean, it hasn't had any problems cutting anything that I've tried to cut with it so far. I don't really think that's the issue with a knife of this quality. It's not really about how well it cuts. It's really more about the design, the elegance, and the artistry that goes into the design of it, and the quality of the manufacture. I mean, just the smoothness of the action, the simple lines, the design. You know, and I know that these handles were done on CNC machine, but But still, it takes a lot of vision to actually figure out what you want to do with the CNC machine and program that and have it cut it out. And then, you know, there's the fit and finish, the tweaking and putting everything together so that it actually does what you want it to do like this is amazing. So, probably the most boring video ever put up on YouTube. And I'm no expert by any matter. I'm really kind of just learning more and more about knives, and have progressed from, you know, like I say, Gerbers and Kershaws and Bucks, up to Spydercos and Benchmades, and have some zero tolerance knives, and eventually got to the point where I was like, you know, if I'm going to buy a knife, it makes sense to buy one that is closer to being completely hand produced. And probably my next knife purchase will be a completely custom knife, because I've been so impressed with this one that I just don't see myself investing another $100 or $200 in a production knife, even $300 in a production knife. I just can't see doing that. I see myself progressing along even further into fully custom knives that most people would question, how in the world could you justify spending that kind of money on a pocket knife? But the pure joy of holding this, of looking at it every day, of handling it, and knowing that you're supporting those craftsmen in their work and helping them to build their companies and progress in their knife making skills so that they can produce something even better the next batch, the next run, is just something that most people can't understand, I'm sure. But I've collected a lot of different types of things in my life, whether it be knives or Tiffany vases, Tiffany inkwells, art prints. You know, those things are all great. They're great to look at. The thing that's so nice about these mid-tech and custom knives, I guess, is not only is it a piece of art, but it's also something that is extremely functional. Something that will probably hold its value, maybe probably even go up in value over time. This particular knife is number 99 in this series, and Eugene at Olamic has said that they're not going to make this one anymore. I've already seen him post on Instagram and YouTube some new versions of the Wayfarer 247 that 24/7 that have, you know, other features, you know, different colors for the pivot or the hardware, sculpted backspacers. This backspacer is floating, and it is titanium, but it's very simple. You can probably see here that it is see-through, so you know, the construction of the backspacer and the way that the standoffs are created is pretty amazing. It's not sculpted though, it's just a flat piece of titanium. But that's okay, that's what I actually wanted. I don't really want a knife that's too adorned, especially when it is called the 24/7, and the whole idea is this is a knife that you'll carry in your pocket every day, which I have for the last 3 or 4 weeks since I got it. You know, if it had fancier materials, if it was Damascus and Trimascus and all those kind of things, I would probably be less likely to put it in my pocket every day. And that's one thing I really appreciate about this knife, is I don't feel any sorrow at all every day when I put it by my bedstand the night before and wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is look at it. Usually it's in the closed position on my nightstand, and I flip it just to give it a little test, you know, and then I'll close it and put it back in my pocket. And You know, it gives you a joy that is hard to understand for somebody who's not a knife fiend. But if you're into knives like I am, and anybody that watches this video probably has that same kind of illness, you know, having it kind of unadorned makes it a special thing to carry every day, but not so special that you're afraid to actually put it in your pocket and take it out and, you know, cut open a box, maybe pick up a stick and do some whittling, you know, whatever you want to do every day with it. So I hope this wasn't too boring, and I know it was not the best video that anybody's ever put up on YouTube in terms of knife reviews, and it's not really meant to be a review. I guess it's more of just a ramble, but I hope you enjoyed it a little bit, and I highly recommend looking into Olamic knives, because I just can't tell you enough how much joy I've had handling this knife and owning it for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Peace out.